Number one, if you have any questions related to the topic, you can type it in the Q&A panel. This is done so all of panelists are able to track and monitor all the unanswered questions. But if you also have questions unrelated to the topic and you want to interact with other participants, you can do it through the chat panel. The panelists here today will answer your questions from the Q&A. However, if there are any unanswered questions, it will be replied separately through email. All materials will be sent through your emails after the session ends. So today, our topic is how design thinking can shape your business idea. Okay, so without further ado, since we already have a lot of participants today, we would like to start the presentation. The first one is that when you join the session, what do you have to expect? What you can expect out of this session is that this topic today is about design practices, about the use of design thinking practices and method in a business context. You can also expect there would be examples that are going to be shown, and the examples are going to be focused around problem solving and ideation, and the framework of how it is applied in problem solving and ideation. What not to expect is the strategy to make business metrics, technicalities on how to execute the business idea, and types of business tools to use. So if any of you who is joining this session today would like to have a certificate as a recognition of completion, and it can also build your career credential, you can get your certificate with investment. If you're interested, you can email us at info@houseofanalytics.com. The credentials and then the email will also be written at the end of the session. So don't worry if you want to browse through, you want to listen first before signing up for the certificate, you can wait until the end of the session. We will also inform this again. So a brief history maybe, or maybe a brief summary about House of Analytics. House of Analytics is an analytics innovation lab which focus on extracting unique insights from business data. So House of Analytics here, not only aiming to help businesses or maybe personal problems regarding business context or bigger companies, bigger corporation, we are also aiming to provide you unique insights as well as innovative solution. We're also supported by experienced profiles in business and HR analytics field, and we take great pride in helping business take a different approach to exploit their full potential. There are some projects that we have done before, such as for some banks, big banks in Indonesia, such as BCA, Mandiri, BNI, and we also have done several other industries such as academic industry and SMU, or airline transportation industry, F&B, logistic, and we also help some non-profit organization such as Rachel House in Indonesia. Joining us today, there will be people and the team of the House of Analytics. There are three of us, me, Sarah Radian as an innovation strategist, and there is Anastasia Maria as innovation synergist, and Sean Taher, innovation agent. However, today's talk will be moderated by Sean and will be presented with by Tasha or Anastasia as the main speaker of this today's talk. Okay, so before we jump into the content, maybe Tasha, you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Thank you, Sarah. Hello everyone, I'm Tasha. So tonight I will be sharing about my experience regarding how to use design thinking and help it help us shape our business idea and strategy.
Tasha, I think you need to maybe you can fix your microphone because the voice is kinda echo and kinda distorted.
Okay, is it okay now?
Yes, it's okay
Okay,
now.
thank you, Sarah. So, thank you very much, everyone. Call me Tasha. So, for tonight, I will be sharing my experience about how we can use design thinking to shape our business strategy. So, I will be sharing about a lot of things, what is design thinking, and also how it can be applied in order to have your business idea implemented. And Sean will help me to also share about this, as this is about a course that I took last year in UAL, or University of the Arts London, which Sean also was the one of the alumni of UAL.
Okay, thank you, Tasha, for this introduction. So, today's session will be revolving around the things that is not only applied in business world but also applied in academic world. So it will be very, very informative to for the audience. And as Tasha mentioned before, today's moderate today's session will be moderated by Sean. So Sean, if you are already here, maybe you can give us a quick introduction about yourself and maybe what is your background that you are able to give us and moderate this event about design thinking.
Hi everyone. So thank you so much for joining our today's session, tonight's session. So we're going to talk about how can design help us solve problems, as well as when it comes to ideation, as well as coming up with solution to those problems. So as you've already known, as Sarah and Tasha has mentioned as well, I am an alumni of University Arts of London, where I've also explored and learned with my peers on how design principles can help us in business when it comes to creating strategies, when it comes to framing problem, as well as when it comes to coming up with innovations or coming up with innovative solutions, both for the market as well as for internally. Um, so thank you so much for joining, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Sean, for the introduction. Without further ado, I will hand this session to Sean. So Sean will help us go through the session and we will listen to Tasha and Sean's experience in applying designs in business context.
Okay, so thank you so much, Sarah, for the introduction. And of course, thank you so much, Tasha, for coming to today's session. So we're going to have more of an informal discussion with each other, right, Tasha?
Yes, of
Um,
course, Sean.
so both of us want to talk about how did we actually experience design, as well as what were our impression in using designs principles in the business context for tonight's session. Because both of us actually went to UAL for the workshop as well as for study. Particularly for me, a study, and for Tasha for the workshop. And we basically went there and came to a workshop where we explored how can ideas turn into a strategy. So Tasha, would you like to introduce what we did as well as what it was actually about?
Okay, so thank you, Sean. Maybe I would like to mention first what is UAL and how I came about this course, right? So
Mm,
this UAL course actually was referred to me by you. I remember last year. So you told me that hey, we're right now we want to explore new things for House of Analytics, right? And I think you should attend this workshop because UAL is or University of the Arts London is one of the best universities for if you want to deep dive into creative industries or into innovation. And so Sean referred to me this course, Business Design from Ideas to Strategy. Then when I looked at their website, I saw that it was interesting because if we take a look at a lot of business courses today, it talks about a lot on the tools, right, John? I remember when we first
mm, yep.
take a look at websites, it was talking about the tools. It was talking about more on the framework, business canvas model, and everything. When I
Yep.
saw this course, it was interesting because they did not require us to bring tools. They required us to bring pens and also paper. Only that, right? So it was a bit, oh, that's interesting. Just pen, paper, colored pencils, and in the description, and also they talked about a bit on what we want to get through. It's about going through the creative process of business side, right?
Mm,
Design, branding, and everything. So it was very very nice, and also I wanted to learn more about conceptualizing a business. So if you see
so,
here, this was actually the first day of class. We were gathered inside a big classroom, like a workshop classroom, right? It was quite huge, and there were around I think there were around 10 of us, and we came from all over the world, right? From me from Indonesia, there was someone from Japan, from also Saudi Arabia.
mm, so when you came to this workshop, did you have any, was it kind of like ideas or some kind of plan that you wanted to bring up in the class? You know, let's say, did you wanted to explore a business idea, or let's say a product idea with the class, or did you came with zero, zero plan on what you wanted to do in this workshop in particular?
I actually had already had some ideas that I want to explore here, and it was about gamification, right? So how do we use games to
Mm,
help us see the behavior, to help us track, monitor people's behavior in order to make better decisions? Because back then, if you remember, when we wanted to explore House of Analytics, how can we go, how can we improve, right, our services? One of them was about gamification, and that was what I wanted to explore here. How can we explore and improve gamification through conceptualizing the idea?
okay. So maybe if someone who don't really understand about design, or maybe who's someone that is, um, you know, not from a consulting background, um, what were the ideas or maybe framework that you used even before this business design workshop?
Okay, maybe I can share a bit about the experiences that my colleagues went through in the workshop.
Yep.
I was the only consultant there, but there we have several different backgrounds. There were people from marketing, and then also from fashion designer, also from, I remember one of them also, like they have this idea that they want to grow their own company. Some of them are also are students actually, and they wanted to make a company on light bulbs. So it was very, very diverse actually. And
I see.
each of them, they have their own ideas. For example, the ones who wanted to have a company for light bulbs, they already formed some kind of ideas on what type of light and then how can we use it. And for the marketing one, I remember they also have some kind of idea because they have they come here because they wanted to have a breakthrough on the marketing plan in their company. So it was really interesting.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so basically, it was quite a diverse crowd as well. Then
Yes, very diverse.
I see. Okay. So, what were the contents then that you explored with the rest of your peers during the workshop? Actually.
Okay,
Um,
so the courses and the activities that we went through, if we see here, it was really, really, it was a teamwork, right? It was
mm,
about teamwork, how we can implement the concept of design thinking in order to have that idea into a strategy. So if you see here, we were paired in a group of 3 or 4. And then if you see on the walls, it was really interesting. We put like
oh my
papers
God!
there. So
There's a
you,
lot of
there's
writings
a lot,
actually.
a lot, a lot. It was a 5-day workshop. And if you see down here, these were the judges. So on the 5th day, I remember we had to present a pitch to investors, quote unquote, right? And I see
Mm,
you're there, right? I remember you were
yep.
there
Yep. Yep.
to judge me. So this is me
Yep. I
giving a
mean,
presentation.
I mean, like, I know, like, I mean, I was in the end, right? Because I remember you asked me to come, but I mean, I didn't really know what did you actually do. So I just like judge you and like, oh, okay, I'm good, yes.
I know, I know. So if you see here, there were a lot of things that we extracted from the materials that were given by the facilitator. So if I can share, what did we actually do with those papers, right? So in
Mm-hmm.
each of the 5 days, we explored the design thinking concept. The first one to the last one, which is empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So in the first day, we actually discussed a bit about what is design thinking. So if some of you who
Mm-hmm.
attended, who have attended our session about design thinking is actually a process of problem solving where the main process comes from it's a human-centered approach. Why is it called a human-centered approach? Because in the first step here, what we do is empathize. What do we mean by empathize? It means that we want to see and deep dive on the needs of the people first in order to solve the problem. So that's what we did on the first day. Empathize means we go broad, we see the needs of the people. On the second day, what we did was define. So we go deep. After we've identified the needs, then we see that, okay, we have some opportunity here that we want to solve. And then on the third day, we ideate. It means that we want to see what kind of impact can we bring in order to solve the problem. Number 4, what we did was prototype. So we walked through one by one. If we did this, and then using us as the person who's experiencing that, what would we do? Is there something that we need to improve? So we walk through that, and then the last day. This is if you see on the picture here. This is the last day. Actually, we test. So it means that we want to see how can we implement and improve our business idea. And I can share one by one, right? So on the first day, this is about empathy mapping. So what is empathy mapping, right? It means that we are able to map out what does the person or the people that you are targeting feel, hear, see, say, and do. And at the end of the day, I remember that we need to list out the pain and the gain. The pain means that what kind of obstacle, what kind of frustrations that the target or the person feels or think, do, hear, everything, all the negative parts. The
So this
gain
is kind
is,
of the same with data collection, right?
yeah, it's like we gather the data, we gather the information. That
Mm,
means that
but
it,
why should we then, use empathy to kind of gather the data rather than just collect surveys, right? Or even, um, look at the transaction data or even the customer surveys, um, and even from the customer satisfaction.
the approach for this one is they call it a hands-on approach, where we're not only, if we only collect surveys, we can feel it from a third person point of view. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, yeah, I can see that you experience that. I can see that you experience that. But for empathy mapping, it's like we went through what they actually feel, do, hear. So it's like a first person point of view, really
Yep.
hands on. So it's like we go to the field, right? So actually, when we did this, the empathy mapping, the first thing that we did was we researched through internet first, and then we went around the campus to talk to people. So it's like we already have a list of things that we think is the problem, but then we confirm with the people around the campus, is this what you really think, feel, do, see, is this important for you?
Hmm. I see. Okay. Okay. Yep. Yep. So it kind of enforces the experience. Was it, as well as you kind of know what other people are actually experiencing, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the first day, right? On the second day, it's about going deep. So on the first day, we already see that there are some core problems that we want to address in our ideas, in our business idea. On the second day, we focus on the branding. And the branding here, it means that what is the value of this business idea for organization, for the market, for the user, for society, especially for the user. This is so that we can see, is this worth it, right? Because
Hmm.
um back again, if let's say on the first day we did not map out the correct core problem, what do people think, hear, do, say, uh, and everything, then this will not be strong, right? The value is not going to be as worth it as we want it to be.
Yep. I see. Okay. So we have organization, market, user, society. It seems very broad actually for a framework that tries to define the brand value. I can understand the user and the market, but what about the society and organization? Do we really need to bring those factors as well when we define the brand value?
Okay, so um the way that we use this, right, is that we, in order to define this, we go broad first, which is we take a look at the society first, from the perspective of political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal. What is it that that we can gather, right? The kind of information, the facts, the figures. what is the pattern? So in let's say in analytics, this is kind of like trying to see the insight. So take a look at the data, take a look at the information, and then we gather the insight in a society level.
Mhm.
And then we define further, we go to the second stage, which is organization. With this type of society impact or society values, what can we see in organization, right? How does it fit to our organization? And we want to be able to define this by also mapping out the ambition or culture knowledge that our organization currently want to have. And we translate that to the activities, right?
Mhm.
Activities here meaning that, let's say you have an organization that you want to grow the culture to collaborate. It means that the activities that you want to have is that you want the people to respect each other. You want the people to have always a sharing session, you know. And after that, we take a look at the market. We map it, right? So if let's say our organization have these type of value, can we benchmark it to the market and kind of see that, okay, we have an opportunity here that actually we have that value or that core value that is different from the market. And based on that, we are able to grab the user. So for example, one of the example that was given to us was the Nike ad, right? So Nike, different they have different advertising every year, if I remember correctly. And the last one that I remember was given in last year was on woman empowerment. Do you remember that
Mm.
video, Sean, where
Yep.
yeah, so they have uh, the tennis athlete, right? I remember it was Serena Williams, and in that video, Nike portrays that they encourage woman empowerment,
Yep.
and that is one of the examples of how they have a really strong brand value. They can see that from society. The pattern that is arising is that actually a lot of things about feminism, about women empowerment are currently talked about. And the organization, meaning Nike in itself, they support equality. And they translate that into the activities, which is the advertising. And in order to do that, they have a competitive uh, market advantage where they already have the name. It's just that they want to be able to um, also say to the user that, hey, you know what, Nike is for everyone, and Nike encourages woman empowerment. Nike is not just a brand that sells shoes, but we also are a brand that sells values. So that's the idea here.
I see. Okay, okay. So from this brand value as well as define, right? What did you guys come up then?
Okay, so what did we come up with, right? So we came up with this gamification app. We did not define it as an app, but we call it as an app, right? Where in there we can play, but we wanted to have that session to be able to see and take a look at the emotions of the people. So it's like a gamification for
Mhm.
you to also have a counseling session.
Yep.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, okay. Okay, okay. And how did you know that that was the solution to, to this particular problem?
We haven't been talking about the solution, right? It's an idea that at the last day we are testing. So
Okay.
in
So
this
still,
stage, yeah, in this stage, it's not about, oh, we find the right solution. No. If so on the first day, the facilitator already told us, you know what?
yep.
Whatever it is that you have, you have to improve it. It's not fixed. It's not the it will not be the solution, but it will grow.
Mhm.
And we have to be able to have that flexibility to also recognize that this needs improvement and what are the things that we have to improve. So it's a feedback loop.
Oh, I see. So it's basically kind of like, well, it's almost like a trial and error, um, but a more it's a better trial and error. Let's just say that.
It's a structured trial and error.
Okay, yeah, yep.
Yeah, so we can
Okay.
do trial and error in a very, I can say, safe environment.
Okay. Yeah. That's a better way to put it,
Yeah.
actually. So that it's kind of like constantly learning, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yep.
And then on the third day, we talk about ideate or ideation. And here, the activity that we did was about what is the impact of my business idea to the broad view of society, right? So in this case, we are entering some framework that we call pace layering. So what is actually pace layering? Pace layering is trying to take a look at impact um, from nature, from culture, governance, infrastructure, commerce, and fashion. And the way the pace layering works is that if you see here, it in relation to time, right? In relation to time, fashion is very, very fast, right? It's a fast paced industry. So does commerce, infrastructure, not so much, governance, not really, culture takes a long time to grow, to change. Nature takes a really long time to change. So in relation to time, we also take a look at the impact, right? From the things that are actually fashion is the ones where we see it really fast, so fast changing. What are the things that we need to change uh, in a really fast paced way? And then commerce, we're talking about impact that we can change over time, but not as fast as fashion. Infrastructure are the core things that we will need to change over time. For example, things that we need to change within, let's say, 3 to 5 years. So fashion is like 1 to 3 months or per quarter. Commerce are the things that we need to improve or change within 1 year. Infrastructure
Mm-hmm.
are the things that we need to change and also monitor for the next 3 to 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Governance for the next 10 years. So it's like you see a vision for the next 10 years that we need to anticipate. Culture are the things that we need to anticipate and to also change for the next 15 to 20 years. And nature are the things that we can change within the next 30 years, or when we change generation, right?
I
And why we want to see the impact from a very, very detailed uh, changes over time is because we want to anticipate, right? If let's say our business idea is not stable, right, then we can already map it down from here. We can see that, oh, actually it breaks, so that we can
see.
improve our refine our ideas further.
I see. So in your case, right, what were the pace that you and your team chose for the gamification idea actually?
We chose two. Actually, we chose commerce and also infrastructure. Why? Because mainly for gamification, you need to develop the story. You need to also develop the things that you want to monitor, the trends and everything, and it takes some time, right? It's not like fashion that needs to be changed over
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
very fast, right? But we need to develop it. We need to also combine our ideas and also see whether we have any possibilities that we can change the storyline, we can change the things that we want to monitor. And in infrastructure, it means that we want to be have that stability uh, and also quality, right? So that's why we chose these two timeline or impacts, commerce and infrastructure.
Mm, okay, okay, okay. Can you give us any other examples of how maybe your peers or like another team of yours use this example for the pace layering? Because I think when it comes to ideating, it's for a lot of people, it can be the hardest part. So in your but how about your peers' other ideas when it comes to creating ideas from this particular framework as well?
Okay, I can give one example from one of the participants. So this participant wanted to have a company that specializes in interior designing, right? This
Mhm.
participant did not have a background in interior design, but she likes to do interior designing, and she has that she has a really keen sense of aesthetic. So
Mhm.
the way that she operated the idea is that um she wanted to have here, if we see the impact, right? She took the fashion, commerce, and also infrastructure, if I remember correctly. Fashion, because she wants to be able to be flexible, right? And see the trend, right? She has like some what was it, tendency, right, to have one type of style that she likes. But in order to have that idea and to have that clear sense of you know designing, she needs to open up and broaden her perspective from also other sources, right? She cannot just learn from one thing. So that's why she took fashion as the impact, because she wants to be able to have that flexibility, to have that new ideas every time she engages with the new client. And then the
Mhm.
second thing, the commerce one, right? She also wanted to see the impact within the next 3 months, 6 months, per quarter, because she wanted to also review, right? Am I doing things correctly? Am I servicing, not only servicing my client, right? But is my sense of aesthetic is good enough for the client to have, right? I want to be able to have that perspective from the client. And in infrastructure, she wants to also review the impact within the next 3 years, 5 years, because she wants to be able to keep up with the trend. And in order to keep up with the trend, she needs to be able to have that sense and to have that projection. Oh, within I think based on the trend right now, within the next 3 years, these are the things that I want to do. And also in the next 5 years, I can see that the trend is going in another way. So that was one
Wow,
of the examples.
that's actually pretty difficult, especially for the fashion industry. Um, but okay, okay, that's very interesting. And so
Yeah.
after ideating, do you then try to implement it, or what happens after that?
Okay. What happens after ideation? On the fourth day, we did prototyping, right? Because we want to be able to, from all of that, you know, framework, we want to be
Yep.
able
Yep.
to
Yep.
see it firsthand if we were the person who are going to use our product, how will it go about? So that's why we need to do this prototyping in terms of doing the storyboarding. If we go back to the picture that here, right? The previous picture that I shared, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
just go back to the page where, okay, this one, right? If you
Yeah.
see here, on the back of the presentation, let me
Yeah.
just, okay, point out that these are the things that we put in the storyboard back
Yep.
here.
Yep.
So why it's important, right? We want to be able to have that customer journey. If I were the customer using this product, will I be happy? Will I have that impact that I'm achieving for, that I want to achieve? Or will is it like a disaster? So
Mm-hmm.
the prototyping part again is a way for us to review back. Uh, is this feasible, right? If let's say there are some things that when we map it out, oh, there are some things that we need to fix. We need to go back, let's say on the pace layering or the brand value. Then it will be really, really useful because before we execute the business idea or the strategy, we are able to refine it, right? So when we already implement, when we already execute our business idea or business strategy, we already have a clear mind on how we want this business to go about. I can give also an example that we currently encounter, right? So right now, if I can share, right, Sean? Right now we are engaging with several different company vendors that requires us to review the technology, right?
Yep.
And when we did that with the vendors, we saw that actually there are a lot of things that were disconnected, right? Why?
Yep.
Because
Yeah. I remember.
uh, it when they made that product, they did not put it back into a storyboard or a customer journey storyboard, and that's why
Mhm.
there were a lot of things that was very, very disconnected, right?
Yep.
And this is why it's important. So after we did this prototyping, what did we do next? If you remember, this is the last day, right?
Yeah. This is where I became the
Yeah.
judge.
Yes, this is the last day. So the business model canvas is the last thing that we did in order to create the strategy. All of the input from the empathy mapping, our brand value, our impact, and our storyboard, it translates to this, right? And also, in here, we talk about this is the last thing that we talk about, where we talk about who will be our partners, key activities, cost structure, revenue streams, customer segments. Is already like the summary, right? If you remember correctly, when I presented my business idea to you, this is the last thing that I presented after I've gone through all of the prototyping and everything, right?
Mm-hmm. I see. So, with the business model canvas as well as prototyping, um, I can understand how the prototyping helps you, um, improve your solutions as well as trying to understand what are the pitfalls. but can you just go straight away and create the business model canvas? Because it seems here it's kind of like the same with the prototype.
Okay, so there are some differences here. In the prototyping part, we did not talk about cost structure, revenue streams, key partners, key resources, um, also channels. We did not talk about that. We mainly talked about the key activities, value proposition, and customer relationship and customer segments. We mainly, I can say, focused on the customer journey, and how the customer interacts with our product, right?
Yep.
In the business model canvas, this is like the summary for all. We put all of the customer related, we can say customer related perspective, and then also we put the key partners, key resources. So this is more on, okay, now that we already have the all of the ideas, how can we implement this one? How do
Mm,
we monetize,
yep.
basically?
Yep. Yep. Okay. Okay. So the prototyping is more about under. It's more about creating the scenarios of what do you think is going to happen, and then the business model canvas is more about the implementation plan, as well as thinking about um, actually executing, as well as how do we actually make this viable as well as a business product, right?
Yes, that's correct.
I
Because
see.
on the last day, this is the one that we presented to the investors or to you, right?
Yep. Yep.
That day.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the investors need to know about the concept and everything, but the investors also need to understand the cost, the revenue, and
Hmm.
the big picture of how will you implement this business.
I see. Okay. Okay. So it's basically not just about the solution itself, whether it can work or not, or whether people want to buy it or not, but it also has to, you have to think about how we're actually going to make this, as well as, sell it, right? It has to go through, yeah, again, like the executional part, right? Or not, it's not going to be working, and it's just going to stay
Yes,
like an idea, right?
correct. That's correct.
Mm-hmm. So if I were someone who's in the product side of business, right? Do I actually have to do the prototyping more than once before trying to execute this?
Okay, so if we go back to the prototyping or the storyboarding part, yes, of course, you need to do it more than once. But if let's
Mm,
say you already have a clear idea on the storyboard, it's already okay, right? For in based on your standard, it's viable, then you should be able to test it first. And after we test it, then we can see the reaction, right? After we see the reaction of the people that use our product, then we can go back on the feedback loop and see, okay, then I know that there are some things that I can add. I know that there are some things that I can improve. For example, if I can give an example from, let's say, the we use Gojek, we use Grab every day, right? To buy food, to also go from one place to another, use the transportation, right? If you remember back then when they first launched, whenever we buy GoFood and everything, the driver, when they got our um, order, they have to type to us, right? It was like,
Mhm.
if you were the driver at that time, and the driver actually is like 1 kilometer away from the restaurant, and on the way to the restaurant, the driver has the KPI to ask you whether your food, or your beverage is correct, or do you want something to add, right? You can
Yep.
you imagine the driver driving and then typing? It's not safe, right? But
Yeah.
then when we see now, actually they have improved. So they have gone through the prototyping again, improved the service level by every time after we order, we received an automatic reply saying that these are the terms and conditions and everything, right? If you have something to add, you can confirm. So that was one of the examples that we can use in terms of the prototyping, how the prototyping works. So
I see.
it's a feedback loop that needs to be reviewed over time.
Yep, 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 yep. So you can't just, you know, have a solution and then kind of like leave it as it is, right? You have to keep,
Yeah.
what if, what if, right? Mm,
Yes. Yes.
okay, okay, okay.
Basically, you need to also put scenarios, right? Different scenarios based on the feedback, based also on what you want your product to have.
Okay, okay. Yep, yep, yep. I see. So
Okay.
if we were to get an example of what you did, is it possible to see, during the workshop or some kind of like pictures, I guess, or videos?
Okay. So actually, what I want to share next is after this course, right? We had a lot of ideas, crazy ideas at that time, right? And
Mhm.
so what we did, if you remember, we implemented our ideas for our client, right? If you
What was
remember, one some of our
Oh, yeah,
clients
yeah,
asked
yeah,
us
yeah.
to do a workshop, right, related to
Yep.
analytics, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
somehow I don't remember how we included this in our um in our workshop. So the idea was that, you know what, I think we can use design thinking exercise in our workshop, so that the participants are able to have that hands-on exercise. So this one, for example, I remember for this one, it was one of the financial industries, and we wanted them to have a concept of digital banking, right? And so we used the Lego, and we also asked them to do the presentation, sort of like this business model canvas, right? If you remember, Sean,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
asked
yeah, yeah, yeah.
using the business model canvas and also the 3D exercise here to explain what kind of customer journey or digital banking journey that you want your customer to have. So if I can play the video here. See, so in groups, right? We see here that they they draw first. See, this is like the prototyping part.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. So they already um have that ideation first, and the or the empathy, or and then the defining
Mm,
ideation, and then this part is the prototyping. And if we see here, is where they also test, right?
yep,
They
yep.
We ask them questions. We ask them also, what is the idea, how do you go about the digital banking journey, right?
Mm,
And
mm,
then if we see also in the next part, this is the detailed, right, detailed exercise.
yep.
If you see here, this is one of also the examples that we had, right? And
Mm,
if we see this is the entrance, specialized service area, digital customer service. So it was really, really interesting to see how the course helped us to bring another perspective in our service and how it can help the client to explore new things related to their products.
Honestly, I just realized that the what was it the workshop gamification was linked to this as well. Uh, I did not expect this link or this connection. But okay, yeah. Now I can see how we actually got to this actually.
Yeah. You see how it came to this, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's not just an idea anymore, but we can already implement it in our line of business, and it helps us to explore new things
Mm,
from a different perspective.
okay. Yeah. So when it comes to using this design principles, right? Um, do you think that it can be applied to every kind of situation, or industry, or even departments? Because I know, for example, like a lot of people always think that when it comes to business, you have to have just business knowledge. You have to like technical areas, right? But can this be applied to any kind of situation?
Okay, maybe we can go to the Q&A.
Yep.
I can see there are some questions related to what you just mentioned.
Yep.
So does design thinking apply universally to any industry or limited to certain industries? As we can see, it's actually can be applied to many industries universally, right? Some of the examples that I've also mentioned, some of my colleagues that were also in the course, it was they applied it to fashion, they applied it to marketing, they applied it to also um, what was it, the light bulb company, and also I remember the interior design, right?
Yep.
So these are actually guiding principles on how you can already have that idea and also implement that to strategy, right?
Mm,
Okay, so another question, or okay, so one of the participants will want to confirm the understanding. Number one, organization should have its own values first, along with purpose, knowledge, ambition. Number two, then the organization looks out to society to what's happening. Number three, organization looks back to the values, see if these values relevant with the issues happening in the society. Then and only then, activities are implemented and actions are taken. Actually, the first step should be we take a look at the society first. What are some of the insights that or behavior that we see from society and how it relates to our organization. And then after that, we can translate that to the activities. Interesting. And then another question, um, how do we make a business model canvas correctly? What's the sequence or order? Which one should be determined first? Okay, let's go back to the business model canvas here, right? So if we talk about design thinking, I'm talking from the perspective of design thinking, right? If we remember, the first step was empathize, which is about, it's a human-centered approach where we talk about the needs first, right? So if we want to be able to fill out this business model canvas from design thinking perspective, we can put the customer part first, right? And the value proposition, and then key activities. After that, we can fill out the key resources, channels, key partners, and then after that, cost structure, and the last one is the revenue stream, right? So uh, the the three key parts that we need to fill out first from the perspective of design thinking is customer relationship, customer segment, and then value proposition.
I see. Okay. So someone asked about how would you implement design thinking in businesses that are quite rigid, as well when it comes to businesses that have certain culture where it's very hierarchical, it's very regulatory. And in this instance, Kayla asked when it comes to manufacturing businesses. It's interesting because in manufacturing, usually there's a lot of, you know, it's mostly physical. So I think design thinking should be, you know, there, right? But what do you think, Tasha?
Okay, maybe if you remember back a couple of weeks ago, we did a session on design thinking,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in that session, actually we talked about the implementation of design thinking in manufacturing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
if you remember, uh, in manufacturing, what actually there were a lot of things that they explore with design thinking.
Yep.
For example, how do I optimize, let's say, uh, the machines, the inventory, and then how can I also improve the interaction between machine and human? I
Mm,
remember you mentioned about the case in Toyota, Sean. Would you like
uh,
to explain a bit on what is it about?
yep. Yep. So if I can remember as well, for the design thinking implemented for the Toyota one, what they did wasn't necessarily for the customers, but what they did was how did they uh, use design thinking for solving, you know, the efficiency when it comes to people operating the machineries. So instead of using just data on looking at how fast can we produce the cars, how fast can we produce the engines, and then how, you know, efficient can we actually push the workers to work harder or even, you know, make them go faster. Toyota basically requires every employee to become the operators of those machines for at least a month. And so that's to gain the perspective of the people who are actually working in the factories, so that whenever you want to make any changes, you also understand what they're experiencing, what are they going through, instead of just, you know, okay, instead of telling them to change how they work, you would then have a better understanding and know how they would react if you were to do changes to how they work. So that's how design thinking was basically used in that
Yeah,
instance.
in manufacturing, right? Actually, in manufacturing, there are a lot of things that they explore, especially on the interaction between machine and also human. What they did was they are able to see, let's say, how is it how efficient it is uh, to use machine versus human, and then explored about the types of the activities that will have better efficiency if we use machine versus if we use manpower, right? So it's interesting. Okay, now I'm going to answer one more question before we end the session. don't worry, for all of the questions that we have here, we will answer them separately in emails. So don't worry for your questions. You can write it on the Q&A, and we will answer it on your email. Okay, so another question. Is it possible for someone who is not creative to integrate design thinking in shaping their idea? Yes, very, very possible. It's not that you are not creative, right? Creativity is a process where we need to improve over time. And how are we able to do that, right? So if we go back to the first step of design thinking, which is empathize, in here, what you are trying to do is actually you try to, um, I can say, sharpen your creativity, your observational skill by observing the environment around you, the people around you. And if you can do this exercise, this empathy mapping exercise, to put what other people think, feel, hear, do, and say, you list down the pain, the gain. This is actually very important and very beneficial to you in order to increase and improve your creative thinking, right? Maybe Sean, would you like to also share, right? Some of the things that we do, right?
Hmm. So I understand when things like design thinking, right? When it comes to creating a solution, we feel that only the creative people can actually do it. But actually, like what Tasha says, just because it's original or it's out of the box, for example, you don't actually have to be creative about it. It's more about how do we make sure that whatever we do is relevant to the objective, as well as does it actually solve the problem, right? And as consultants, we whenever we try to solve a client's problem, we don't really usually think about, okay, what's the solution, right? What can we do? Most of the work always deals about what is actually the problem, right? And that takes a lot of work on looking into different perspective, which is why empathy is so important, because you're trying to gain different perspective, not only just from the consultant side, or even not only just from the client side, but the client also has different levels, right, of how they work. So we look at different departments, right, and it might seem boring, right? But bulk of the work is basically doing interviews as well as trying to empathize with the different perspective, even from the customer side. And I think that's what can give you the creative input,
Input, yeah.
uh, where you then kind of know, okay, what can I do with all of this, right? Um, so creativity doesn't really come from creating something. It's more about what
Some of the
inspires.
mindset,
Yeah, it's more like
yeah.
a mindset, basically. Um, and how do you actually observe the world?
You can start by observing and using the empathy mapping to also improve your creativity, actually. So whenever you want to whenever you are, let's say right now, you sit in your home and you watch YouTube, you watch your, I don't know, Netflix or everything, you can try to implement this actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so we have several questions here which we will answer through emails. Don't worry. And also we would like to um, explain again that the all of the materials that we share today, we will be we will be sharing at the end of the session. Don't worry, the material on the presentation and also recording, we will share that, and we will also share you on the additional material of each of the um, tools that is stated here, right? So let's say empathy mapping, brand value. Don't worry, we will send the material, and you can browse some of these decision framework, or what we call as the framework of design thinking that you can already use for your business. So we would like to say thank you very much for joining this session tonight. If you are interested in participating with the certificate, you can already ask us through our email at info@houseofanalytics.com. If you would like to have your credentials using our certificate. So thank you very much for tonight. We hope that you find the session useful and that you are able to gain new insights from this session. Follow us at our Instagram and YouTube to know more about our upcoming sessions. And if you guys have any questions for us, please, you can email us through our emails here. And also our contact number. So this is our website, our emails, and our contact number. Don't hesitate to ask us questions. We will see you next week, Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. with a new topic. So thank you very much for tonight, guys. We hope that you enjoyed it.